If you hear rain outside my house, the only thing I have to say to that is welcome to Ohio. So we're going to be taking a look at a situation where Russia and Japan get into a border conflict. So the war is going to start off with the Russo-Ukraine 2021 war. So I'm having Ukraine as red not because they're the attacker, but just because Japan's an attacker and they're on the same team. So it's about 2 months after so it's basically 6/14/2022. Ukraine is doing pretty decent in this war. Moldova has joined in, and they've captured this breakaway state right here. They've been able to push into Russian territory, but and also into lots of Belarus. But Russia is still able to hold some ground, especially in Crimea. So after sends in a SAR bomber right to this part, which is Japan finally feels threatened enough to go to war with them. So what they first do is they quickly aerial bombard and naval bombard all of this Russian coast, and the aerial bombardments go on the nukes. So here we have Japan requesting that its allies not get themselves involved in this because once again this is border skirmish, not a war. So here we can see Japan taking over some Russian islands which they have a claim to, and also pushing up this one that I can never freaking remember the name of. So they're able to cause multiple encirclements and squeeze outs until they're eventually stopped around halfway through their journey. They decide to make a naval landing in this part of Russia, which is like the um South Asian Siberian part of it, or the South Siberian part. Um, and I don't want to open up Amazon. God dang it! So we can see Japan making having some staggering progress as their army is a lot better than Russia's army. It is also at this point in the world where Japan and Ukraine are recognized as having better militaries as Russia. Eventually, Japan is able to continue their push up and cause an encirclement, and wipes out tons of Russian armies. Japan really wants China to do something because Japan's always looking for an excuse to invade China and go to, and for some good reason, they always want to go over here for some reason. Like, I don't know, man. Do you guys have any thoughts? I don't know. I heard this place had some historic value, so maybe that's the reason. Oh God. So we have Japan deciding to change up their strategy a little bit. We have them only half island hopping these places, so they can make a landing in this peninsula right here of Siberia. Peninsula. So they make a naval landing, and after more bombardments, Japan is able to continue their push up through. And now it's extremely hard to do this because it's frigid cold. So Japan decides to get an idea. They decide to try to use icebreakers. So they buy some from the U.S. The icebreaker ships are like ships where you can like plumb through ice. So they buy some from the U.S. And they turn them into somewhat of battleships. So with this we have Japan so this is gonna be the naval area of where they are. So we have Japan sailing out through here to make a naval landing around here and here. So with this, now Japan has more access to Russian borders. They eventually make their push through on both their landings. Japan is able to connect these two fronts and now has to make the devastating push through Siberia. Russia doesn't really care about this land as much as they are with Ukraine. And speaking of which, let's go back to Ukraine because right now Japan's about to go into the hardest battle they're gonna have. So over in Ukraine, we can see the Ukrainian army successfully starting to push out Russia completely. We also see a bit of a backhandment, and Ukraine sends in a massive amount of rice farmers to help out. That last one was a joke. We do see some Belarusian pushback, although Ukraine is able to decides to open up a new front by taking out some of Belarus's claimed land, like Ohio, Thunder. So Ukraine is able to send up a spearhead through Belarus and is able to get to Minsk, and they're able to capture the city. So now Ukraine eventually encircles the city, so it will not be recaptured. With this, Belarus is going insane, as well as Russia, who's almost completely kicked out of Crimea. With this, the Duma is just out of their minds right now. They thought that going up in a war against some knockoff Polish people would be a lot easier than what it actually is. Eventually, Ukraine is able to continue their advancements, and they start even pushing into Russia. With this, they create this weird front line right here. I did not mean to go down to the watermark. Okay, um, and decide, you know what? Forget it. Let's take Volgograd. So they do by crossing in, and they don't make the same mistake as a certain man with certain beliefs did in World War II, and they're able to capture the city, and then they push down into the oil fields of the Caucasus region, whilst also making an encirclement of some sorts. Japan sees the rapid success of Ukraine and decides not to miss the victory bus, so they prepare their army as well. Now, I know it's not bright red, but that's because I don't care. So, Japan pushes through until they meet their biggest challenge, the coldest city in the world. Now, if you don't know, I forget what the city is called. It has a C in it. I don't freaking know, but the city's about right here. And I'll also be along the outskirts of the city, so you can get a better idea of what this whole battle is going to be like. So, with this, Japan knows that's going to need some different tactics to defeat the Russian army here, because it's even more cold. So what Japan decides to do is they first try to send in it just a normal push through to see how that's going to work out. Um, this the push is extremely slow, but they eventually reach the gates of the city. They try an encirclement, but lots of Japanese soldiers cross into the city, but some of them even freeze to death as Russia continues to push back Japan. So now Japan decides that it needs a new strategy for taking the city. With this, they decide to do an encirclement while also issuing out winter clothes. With this, we see Japan making the advancements. We also see another crawl through here and reinforcements gliding along. Eventually, the outskirts are starting to be captured and the city is encircled, and we see a slow fall of one of Russia's most historical cities. It's not very historical, but it's important, I'd say. So eventually, we see Japan taking more and more Russian territory, and Russia's just not having it. We see some Siberian rebels also deciding to join Japan after they connect. We also see more rebels in Siberia, once again connecting with Japan and pushing down further and further. Over in Ukraine, we have something horrible for Russia happening. Ukraine, after months of fighting, is able to push up and reach Moscow and is able to capture the city. So now Russia is basically on their last legs, especially considering that their ally Belarus has finally fallen to Ukraine after being pushed up to around here. Now, I know it doesn't look like that they've surrendered, but I don't want to recolor it. So yeah, this means that all territory captured by Belarus is gone, and we even see troops turning in on Russia. Eventually, Russia is completely kicked out of Ukraine, and they give up. Russia finally surrenders after a cyber attack is able to shut down some nukes. And they lose all hope after being furtherly pushed into by the Ukrainian army and also the Japanese army. So Japan was able to get pretty far into Russia. So now we have to redraw it now we have to redraw the map to show what the peace treaty is going to be. So it's going to be a little weird, but whatever. So here we have Ukraine deciding to just totally annex Belarus because just why not at this point. Ukraine and Moldova decide to form a union, because why not? And in the end, Romania decides to also join this union because that looks kind of cool in my opinion. But we're gonna make it look even better. So the way that we're gonna make it look even better is by giving Ukraine some land out of Russia, and I'm gonna be giving them Volgograd because why not? So we see Ukraine expanding out to here and becoming thick. We also see Kaliningrad handed over to Lithuania as a bit of a treat for helping them out, and because it's widely Lithuanian. Now, over in Japan, Japan is able to take an extreme amount of territory, but they don't really know how to handle it, so they give some over to the U.S. And we also see the rest of Siberia becoming independent. So that was the video. I'm done with this. Peace.